We are now live. I just want to wait till the numbers came up. It is 1:50 p.m. on Sunday, August 3rd, 2025. Yes, we are in the 8th month of the year. Thank Christ, because it is technically the last month of summer, because mid-September is when fall hits. But we still have, all of August and half of September is going to still be summer. Which means that midsummer is technically, I measured it out once, I believe is August 5th. I figured that out via a whole different ways. Well, let's just take a look at it. Figured, June 21st and September 22nd. June 21st is the first day of summer. September 22nd is first day of fall. So you figure 9 days for June of summer, and then you have 2 months, July and August of summer, and then you have an additional 21 days after that. So you take a look at the numbers. I think I added together 21, 42, and 62 is 104. So you divide 104 by 2, that's 52 days. So 52 days from June 21st is right around August 5th is how I came to that. So midsummer will be this week. So it sucks. I know it sounds like, oh my God, we're only midway through, but you got to look at the bright side. When September starts hitting, temperature starts dropping and things start really rolling out there. Football, Renaissance fairs, state fairs, temperatures do drop, school back in session, college back in session, stuff like that. So you got that stuff coming for you. This week has been an emotional roller coaster for me. My son has been complaining of a stomach ache since last Monday, and he's kind of a hypochondriac, psychosomatic sort of thing. So he's been thinking he's got appendicitis or other majorly terrible events. And I told him appendicitis, would be more than a off and on stomach ache. It would be massive continued pain from your appendix area. He doesn't have that when he's not thinking about his stomach, like he was working at Irvine all this week, which is one of the nature centers around here where he's CIT and counselor in training. He said he was fine. It was just until he got home and started being able to think about stuff like that. So he didn't want to go on the camping trip he went on this weekend, which is going to be a caving and whitewater rafting thing because of his stomach. But we kind of goaded him into it, and he absolutely had a meltdown on Friday night, and I had to talk him out of it. But my wife sent me some pictures of him. He did really well with the caving, and I haven't heard from them since yesterday afternoon. So I'm assuming everything's fine. They're whitewater rafting now, or they might be done by now, but they're not back home yet. They're going to come back late today. And then he's got another week of working at Irvine, and then he's got a few days off, and then he goes to Sea Base, which is another big event thing. So we'll see how things go. My daughter is finally going to be back home for good this upcoming Thursday, Friday. So that'll be good. So still got about 4 or 5 days left before I actually see my daughter for good. And then she has to get started right away on her college stuff. So August is going to be just a crazy month. So I have to deal with all that issues because my son's really, really freaking out about stuff. And it's scaring me a little bit because I hate seeing my son in pain, even though it's a stomach ache that I've been used that I'm in pain all the time. And I explained to him, look, you need to learn how to control your pain. I know it takes time, but you need to just do it, or you're just not going to be able to process anything or do anything because you're going to be focused on this pain. You gotta focus on something else. So been trying to work with him on that. And at the same time, my daughter, I sent her a text Friday. She didn't respond till late Saturday. And it was just one sentence. So I was just okay, she's, just sort of not telling me how things are going up there. So that's great. And now all that stuff happening in August, my work is starting to ramp up again. I had these massive orders I had to put out back in May and stuff like that. And I was getting tons of pressure on them, and I got them all out. And now I've got 4 more giant ones I got to get out. So I'm working on those, and they're going to start pressuring me on those as well. And we've got 2 giant class orders. It's just a whole bunch of messed up BS. So it's just wonderful. But on the flip side, so all that stress and strain, plus we got to start thinking about how we're going to pay for college. We also, our mortgage was due this week, so we're not going to have any money probably this week until Thursday when I get paid. And then my wife gets paid on Friday, so then we'll be okay. But we still got to ramp through about 3 to 4 days worth of stuff, and there's stuff we need to get, gas and groceries, stuff like that. So we got to figure out a way to take care of that. So that sucks. But then on the flip side, we got our cool temperatures finally, though they're not going to last. They're going to last through the rest of this week, I think. And then they're going to start getting bad again. So right now we're looking at, it is currently 78 degrees right now with a low of 56. Tomorrow will be 83 with a low of 59. Tuesday, 83, 63. Wednesday, 80, 65. Thursday, 78, 65. Friday, 78, 64. Saturday, 80, 64. Sunday, 84, 67. And then we get back into it next Monday with 86 degrees and 71 degrees as a high, as a low. When lows at the 70s, it's not good. And then 86 and 71 also on Tuesday. So the heat is going to be coming back, which sucks. But yes, I know it is summer, but come on, people. It's disgusting. But this past weekend has been great. Saturday was wonderful. I got to go out on a nice 3-hour walk because there's a Pokemon Go event going on. I got to do that walk around my neighborhood, got some really good pictures. And then it's just been nice having the windows open, not running the air conditioning. It's been comfortable sleeping. I've had to actually wrap up in my covers. It's been so chilly in the evenings, which is good. It's not going to happen. Not going to stay this way for a while, but here we go. So, and then, I was going through all this stuff, and then I was watching, dog adoption videos that were making me cry. My cat Pepper ate a bunch of Easter grass, and she wasn't feeling well, or he wasn't feeling well Monday of last week, pooping out Easter grass, stuff like that. He's much better now, though. So it's just been a whole lot of stuff. It's just been, I cried a number of times, and I'm okay. I'm gladly admit that I cried a bunch of times on Thursday and Friday and Saturday a little bit. I'm okay with that. So, and then everything that's going on in this fucking world right now, because this country sucks. So it's not all entirely gone, but I've been feeling pretty good lately, and we'll see what this week brings. But the temperature is supposed to be pretty tolerable, as I said, up till next Monday. So we should be in okay shape this week, temperature wise. So we'll see how that ends up going and rolling through there. So. And then that was my whole emotional roller coaster thing. That's why this episode is called Emotional Roller Coaster, because I had some really big highs and some really big lows, and just been crazy. And then we also had an 8.8 earthquake off the Russian coast near Alaska, I think Thursday, which set off an unprecedented tsunami watches, warnings, and advisories all around the Pacific Rim. Russia got hit with a couple of tsunamis. Alaska got hit with a little bit. Hawaii got hit with a little bit. So, but other than that, nothing too terrible and awful. And then not one, but 2 volcanoes erupted in Russia. One has erupted before. The other has never erupted before and was erupted because of this. And they've been having 6.6 aftershocks hitting the area as well. We also had an earthquake between Australia and Antarctica, which also brought tsunami watches and warnings, but nothing happened with that. And then last night, we had a 3.3 earthquake rattle New York City into New Jersey, though friends that live in New Jersey say they did not feel it. Jerry, one of my previous co-hosts of the show, said she didn't feel anything. So, and I think there was some earthquakes down in Arkansas also this week. So things are getting really active around here. I think we also had a massive rainstorm Wednesday into Thursday, or Thursday into Friday. Something. It was Thursday into Friday, I think. I mean, I got stuck in it at work. I have pictures of it. Just the. Let me see if I can get it up here. I posted on my page, my Instagram page, but no, you might not have seen that. Let me see if I can find the best one of this. That's the best I think I can do it with that. Let's see if I can get the camera. Yeah, so something like that. So it was a massive rainstorm, and it literally was coming down on me Thursday like I was in a car wash. It was crazy how heavy the rain was. And there was something that happened on 795 I'd never seen before, where I had an icon pop up on my dashboard and my car sliding. So I must have been sliding at one point. So yeah, that was great. But that helped usher in the cool temperatures we're having now. So you get a little bit of this and that. So you get all that. So we got a lot of stuff going like that. I did watch Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds yesterday for the first time ever with Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning and Tim Robbins. And it has its moments. It's some really good stuff. It came out in 2005, I think. And so it was still fresh about 4 years after 9/11, and it had a very 9/11-esque sort of feel to it and stuff that was going on after 9/11. There's a whole bunch of shit that happened like that after that, but it was definitely a different film. Say whatever you want about Tom Cruise, that he can actually be a really good actor when he needs to be. And we had a Tom Cruise I've really never seen before as a neglectful father who was kind of an asshole. And even though he grew a little bit, he still at the end was still kind of hadn't really changed all that much because of all the stuff he suffered. But he was suffering from a lot of stuff. But it was a remake of the H.G. Wells, or that adaptation of a H.G. Wells story. But they updated it, changed it around a little bit. I don't remember in the H.G. Wells one that the aliens were harvesting our blood and drinking it and then using it for fertilizer. That added for some really unnerving visuals. The other thing I really noticed was, and you know, I don't know why, because most films don't have a constant music score, but John Williams' score was very minimal usage in this movie. It was shot also very in this sort of grayish haze that Spielberg is known to sort of get used to feeling certain ways. I did admit the sequence with the psycho Tim Robbins in the basement, as a lot of people have been saying, did go on a little too long for my liking. There were some stuff that happened in there that was interesting, but it did really go on a little extra long, and it was just some really kind of uncomfortable sort of stuff I hear. It's sort of, I couldn't imagine what it had been like in 2005 with all the shit we'd gone through with 9/11 and the sniper shootings and the shoe bomber and all the stuff that's going on, how it must have played. It did really well in the movie theater. So, but I did finally see that. And then I decided that I was going to do Alien Invasion Day. So I watched Signs after that, which is still one of my favorite all-time movies. And I am eventually, one of these days, I am going to make a In Defense of Signs movie, because I still see people bitching and moaning and complaining about Signs, and there really is no reason for it. Spider-Man Brand New Day has started filming, obviously, and we get our first teaser with Tom Holland in the new Spider-Man costume, so that's pretty cool. And the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, is officially in it, as is the guy who played the Scorpion in Homecoming. He's officially in it as well. Real quick, though, I just realized I have Mountain Dew Dragon Fruit. I got that from Walmart a couple weeks ago, and now I'm going to try it here live on the show. So here we go. Has a little bit of a bouquet, but nothing really major. Has a sort of pinkish color. Let's see what it tastes like. It's actually not bad. I kind of like it, actually. Never really had dragon fruit. It's really hard to, there seems to be an orange note in there. I don't know if it's a citrus or if it's the Mountain Dew citrus in it as well, but there's definitely some sort of orange. It's not lemon lime, which is what Mountain Dew usually is. This is sort of like an orange sort of flavor to it. Something else in there. I can't tell what it is. It's like, mostly it's like dirt, but not in a bad way. It doesn't. It's just it's sort of a maybe an earthy tone. It's really hard to quantify, but there's definitely a citrusy note. Tastes like orange almost. a lot stronger orange than live wire is, because the live wire orange Mountain Dew is okay, but this tastes more like orange than that does. And I know it's not supposed to. This is dragon fruit, so there's something else there too. It's like an orange. I don't know, berry flavor in there, maybe. It's actually really good. Dragon fruit Mountain Dew is actually very, very good. You can get it at Walmart. Walmart has 12 packs and individual ones as well. They also had the neon blue crush that I drank last week. They had that also. That was pretty good too. So those are the only places I've been able to find it, because I think they're, well, Dragon Fruit's exclusive to that. I haven't seen the crush anywhere else though. I kind of like that. So it's actually pretty good. So thumbs up for me. Football has officially started. First preseason football game of the year was on July 31st. The Chargers absolutely demolished the Detroit Lions. And then we had the NFL Hall of Fame, had a number of people put in there. The Baseball Hall of Fame was earlier in the week, so there's Hall of Fame week here. So there is football every week from now till February. It's preseason for the first couple weeks here through August into early September, but then we get into the regular season. But yeah, so there's football from now to February for the most part. The Baltimore Orioles decided they'd given up for this year and traded 9 players: Cedric Mullins, Charlie Heaton, Luis something or other, Ramon Urias, a bunch of our players that our lone all-star we traded after we played in the all-star game, and just a number of players, about 9 players we traded for prospects and stuff like that. And it's just like, are you giving up on the rebuild already? Are we rebuilding again? Because now you can say, we got all these prospects. Yeah, but they're not going to be ready for 2 to 3 years. So are we just going to rebuild again for the next 2 to 3 years? We already went through one, and that was supposed to be it. And we had 2 good years, and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck it, we're not going to do that anymore because it's not working. So I'm very livid about that. So I'm not going to watch any more Orioles stuff. I'll keep a track on the scores, but that pisses me off. It's like, let's go Ravens, come on. At least they're doing decent moves and have a good chance of actually going far this year. So kind of pissed about that with the Orioles. So I'm just kind of going to blow them off a little bit. Pokemon the Pokemon have taken over Campbell's chicken soup cans. There's a number, there's about, I think, 12 of them that have Pokemon on the chicken soup cans now. After the Orioles traded everybody away, they went to Chicago and they lost 1-0 after their pitcher pitched a complete game and lost. And then they had to come back to win 4-3. And let's see if they're losing, how bad they're losing today. Right now. They don't have a game today? Oh, 2:20 p.m. Okay, it's because it's Chicago. That's why. So it's about an hour behind us. So the game starts in about 12 minutes, 11 minutes now. Okay, so yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But while they're away in Chicago, the Savannah Bananas came to Camden Yards and sold out Camden Yards twice for a total of 90,000 people over 2 days showed up at Camden Yards to watch the Savannah Bananas win their 2-game set against whoever they were playing. They brought Buck Showalter and Adam Jones back, and it was huge. I had friends go. They said it was a fantastic time. So congrats to the Savannah Bananas. You're doing what the Orioles cannot do. Mm. The intensely, amazingly, gorgeously hot Sydney Sweeney is getting some flack for her Calvin Klein jean ads, which is their own, or American Eagle jean ads, I'm sorry, which is their own fault because they're using like a eugenics line about being good genes with, you know, a play on genes, stuff like that, and getting the most gorgeous blonde-haired, blue-eyed, big-breasted woman out there to do it. So a lot of people are, you know, attacking Sydney Sweeney, but it was a job for her. As American Eagle was just, I'm not going to attack them either, but they just, their campaign just is not in good taste with the way the Nazis are in charge of the United States right now and their version of eugenics. That's why a lot of liberals are pissed off. But it's pissing me off seeing all these people saying, "Oh yeah, look at these pictures of Sydney Sweeney. Liberals hate her. They don't think she's attractive." It's like that's not what happened. This is my kitty. You doing okay? He's been very lovely since the kids and mom have been away. See, you're on TV. Look, yay, Pepper. I'm gonna put you down, okay? Because you're distracting me. And you're back again. See, I can see your tail. See your tail. Looks like I have a tail. Look at me. No, there's your head. Oh, there you go. You're gonna come back over on my paper, aren't you? Yes, buddy. I love you too. So that's really on American Eagle, and they have not apologized for their statement. So at this point, do whatever. I don't care. But, liberals do not hate Sydney Sweeney for acting in this, and liberals do not think she's unattractive. You stupid, dumb-ass fucks. You're so fucking stupid. It's not funny. So speaking of Tom Cruise, it is apparent that Tom Cruise and Ana de Armas, who is another insanely hot woman, are now dating, which is weird because there's a big 20-year sort of age gap in between them. They are currently be working a deep sea movie together. So I guess that's sort of how things go. So co-stars hooking up is nothing new. Everyone is behind, though, Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson, who are starring a Naked Gun reboot right now, and they are dating now too, and everybody is loving the relationship between the two of them. And Meryl Streep and Martin Short have been dating now for a couple years, actually, since they worked together on their show Only Murders in the Building. So it's interesting. It's just a weird to hear Meryl Streep and Martin Short dating. That's just, I don't know. There's just something wild about that. But everyone is sort of applauding all these sort of finding love sort of things going on. So good on all of them for doing that. So last week I talked to you about the Harvard dude who postulated that the interstellar object that is currently rocketing its way towards Earth, which would be hitting Mars around October and hitting, I think, Earth around November, not hitting it, but going by it in November, December, could be an hostile alien spaceship. Now, if you read the article that the paper that he wrote, he did not come out and say it is a alien spacecraft. He said it could be an alien spacecraft, but people took that as, oh my God, Harvard said this. We must turn it into clickbait headlines, which is something I probably need to go off on another interviews with myself. Grievances one where just clickbait headlines are just pissing me off right now. I'll give you a couple examples of that in a second. But now another Harvard study says that aliens may already be among us. Are you an alien, Pepper? I think you're an alien, Pepper. They're observing us, whatever. They say that they could be people, aliens in disguise. Some people are aliens in disguise observing us. Could be animals. Could be Pepper observing us. Are you an alien? Are you an alien? No, you're not an alien. You're a good boy. You're a good kitty boy. So Harvard seems to have aliens on the brain right now. So whatever. So real quick on clickbait headlines. There was one that said the Odyssey loses its star in a shocking way. And you're like, oh, shit, Matt Damon or Anne Hathaway or someone disappeared. No, it was a guy who probably has a minor role in the film, but is a big star from the Shogun show. He left, and they already cast somebody else. So it wasn't like, oh, my God, it's the end of the world. So they made it seem like, oh, my God, he is, the lead actor of the Odyssey is gone, and the whole movie is going to fall apart. No, he was a small role that has been replaced already, and as if nothing happened. Then there was one about somebody talking about the movie Strange Days, and it says James Cameron's least known film or whatever is actually pretty good, sort of thing. He wrote and produced Strange Days. He did not direct it. His former ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow, who is a Oscar award-winning director directed Strange Days, you stupid fucking assholes with your clickbait bullshit. Just there's a whole bunch of this clickbait bullshit going on. The same thing with that, as I said, Harvard guy said that the alien spacecraft should be hostile. He said it could be, but they took it as him saying, yeah, he said it's going to be. No, he said it could be. And he also made a statement at the end that, no, it isn't. Are you going to move the mouse? I got to get a picture of you. So Pepper. So we'll see what happens. K-pop Demon Hunters is the hottest thing on Netflix right now. My wife has seen it twice. My daughter and wife saw it when she was home briefly last weekend. It is getting announced this week that a sequel is in the works, which is a no-brainer, and that it could actually be part of a trilogy. And then they mentioned that it could be a live-action version could also be in the works. Netflix came out and refuted that and said, no, actually, Pepper, what are you doing? You're gonna fall. Netflix came out and refuted that, said, no, there is no live action adaptation of K-pop Demon Hunters in the works yet. They said it might be, but we're going to focus on the animated side of it. They also plan to do maybe a short story, a couple of short films based on it. So it's starting to become its own little franchise, which is cool. My wife and daughter will be happy about that. So, ow, Pepper. I think I have something else about K-pop Demon Hunters later on in the show, and we'll get to it when we get there. Speaking of Netflix, Fubar, the Arnold Schwarzenegger TV series, has been canceled after 2 seasons. Second season just came out, and it just did not do as well as the first season. So they're like, we're done. Yeah, there's Arkansas. I guess those are, yeah. Stephen Knight, who created Peaky Blinders, is going to be tapped to write the new James Bond film directed by Denis Villeneuve for Amazon Prime and MGM. More hit. Yep, we talked about that too. Boom. Ghost Pepper Ranch Pringles is coming soon. I don't understand this obsession with extreme heat flavored foods. Pepper. You really need to move, Pep. Oh, move. But here we are. This is kind of a wild story. The world's oldest baby was born this week. How the hell does that happen? Well, there's a thing called women freeze embryos for when they're ready to have children or to help somebody to have children, whatever. They freeze their embryos, and when they're ready to be used, they are thawed out and implanted, and they grow a child. Not the first one, but the oldest one was born this week from an embryo frozen since 1994. So technically, they're 31 years old. 31 years old. So that's kind of crazy, but the baby is still just a baby, and it's just the embryo is 31 years old. Sarah Michelle Gellar has showed a video of her training with new vampire slayer Kira Armstrong. So they're already starting to work on that stuff, get that stuff going on like that. The awesome sounding, I've talked about this show a few times, the untitled Newfoundland monster film from Netflix starring Josh Hartnett starts filming on location this week. Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things is also in it. So the fact they're filming in Newfoundland, and it's such a great idea for a storyline. Small little town has to take on a monster from the sea. It's awesome. Such a great idea, and I cannot wait to see it. Probably be out sometime next year. Looking forward to that. Speaking of alien invasions, John Krasinski is set to return to write and direct A Quiet Place 3, set to come out July 9th, 2027. Alfie Allen from Jojo Rabbit and Game of Thrones has been cast in 3 Body Problems Season 2. Stranger Things gummy waffles, which are actually a fruit flavor and not a maple flavor, are coming out here soon. And the reason why it just got dark is because the cat is blocking my light. And Sour Patch Kids Monster Heads, just in time for Halloween. This is kind of a really cool idea. So you have a bigger than normal size Sour Patch Kid. The head is one flavor. The body is a different flavor. There's only 3 flavors right now, but they are monster-sized ones with different Pepper, you're going to knock stuff over with different flavor. Stop. I got to take another picture because you're being so helpful. All right, Pepper, you have to move because I got to get my notes. Pepper, I need to move. You need to move. Pepper. Pepper, you have to move. Sorry for the delay. Excuse me. You need to move. I need to get my paperwork. All right, come on. All right, come on. Up, up, up. Up and at 'em. I love you. I want you around me, but not on my paperwork. The Seattle Kraken mascot was filmed, just doing a promo or something like that, was filmed being chased by a bear in Alaska. So they were filming something, I guess, in Alaska. And while they were filming it, the guy who was with the Seattle Kraken mascot and him were in this like river. And you can see this grizzly bear just start running right after him and chasing them. They survived, obviously. So Edwin Hodge has joined Terminal List Season 2. The new Mario Kart Switch 2 game has moved 5.63 million units. Charlize Theron and Channing Tatum are set to star in Dance Parents. Wayward trailer with Toni Collette set to debut on Netflix on September 25th. A bizarre sort of Twin Peaks-esque sort of show debuted this week. Looks meh. Growlithe, the Pokemon, was turned into a Yakuman Guardian in Okinawa. Study shows ice cream is actually a health food and protects against heart disease. I had some yesterday, so hopefully that'll be good. Everything bagel flavored mac and cheese and pizza flavored mac and cheese are now coming from Kraft mac and cheese, which is a terrible mac and cheese, by the way. I just got to say that. The polar vortex is slowly waking up. The weather people have been noticing a shift in the weather over the North Pole. Don't know what that means, but it means that the cold weather might start to roll out a little bit more quickly than it has been. So we'll see what happens with that. Record 515-mile lightning flash from Texas to Kansas was documented this week. 515 miles, Jesus. And a radioactive wasp nest has been found in a South Carolina site where nuclear weapons were built. So that's wonderful, too. Radioactive wasps. That's what I probably should have named this episode. Death this week, Gene Seeley, a trailblazer for women in country music, died at the age of 85. Anniversaries, the first of 2 Friday the 13th movies. This one was Friday the 13th 6. Jason Lives debuted 39 years ago this week. Guardians of the Galaxy debuted 11 years ago this week. Saw that in the movie theater. Howard the Duck debuted this week, 39 years ago this week. Saw that in the movie theater also this week. Signs debuted 23 years ago this week. Actually debuted yesterday, 23 years ago. Saw that in the movie theater and then decided I was going to watch it on last night also. Weird Science, which I don't think I saw in the movie theater, debuted 40 years ago this week. Hollow Man, the Paul Verhoeven, Kevin Bacon horror Invisible Man film, which I did not see, debuted 25 years ago this week. Matilda debuted 29 years ago this week. And one of the best horror comedy movies of all time, Fright Night, debuted 40 years ago this week. one of my favorite Halloween-esque films, speaking of Fright Night, the live-action Casper movie with Christina Ricci and Bill Pullman is set to return to movie theaters for its 30th anniversary on October 3rd, which is the day before my anniversary. So I might have to check that out in movie theaters. I love that movie. It's fantastic. Even a young Devon Sawa is involved with that. And there's a Devon Sawa story in here. Let's see, he's on this page. He's not, but I'm going to bring it up anyway because it's it's a coincidence. Devon Sawa is in Casper. He's a guy who's been in a couple things. Casper's not really a horror film, but it's got a supernatural aspect to it. He was in the first Final Destination movie. He was in Idle Hands. He did the Chucky TV show on Sci-Fi recently. So he's got sort of a horror pedigree. And he came out this week and he said something that I'm just like, you know what? That might actually be really a cool idea. He said he would love to portray Freddy Krueger in an updated version of Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Devon Sawa, of everyone, would probably be the best choice. You get a younger actor who's not really younger, to be honest, because he was in his teens 30 years ago. So he's got to be in his 40s by now. So I figure he's got horror icon status, and it's definitely probably a good role that for him that he could do that. Though I don't know if a lot of people are going to be able to see Devon Sawa on that role, but I think it's an absolutely stellar idea. I think it's fantastic, and I think they really should pursue it. Speaking about how sucky the weather's been, Iran reached a heat index of 182 degrees. Of course, they're in the desert in the Middle East, sure, but still, goddamn, 182. And there was a dew point of 97 degrees. That's fucking disastrous. God damn, I would never want to be in that fucking area. And that's not even with all the stuff going on. The Sex in the City era is finally come to an end. The spinoff, and just like that, is ending with season 3, which is effectively ending the Sex in the City franchise. Now, could they still make a movie? Sure, but I don't think so. I think everyone's done. They're ready to move on, and so on and so forth. Now, this is kind of weird. They say that this is his first film, his directorial debut, but I think Chris Rock directed a movie before. Regardless, he's set to direct a film for A24 with Rosalind Elazar, Adam Driver, Daniel Kaluuya, and Anna Kendrick. Untitled right now and not really give much information, but it makes you think, didn't he direct CB4? Or was there's got to be, I think there was another movie that he directed before this. So I don't think this is his directorial debut. Don't quote me on this. I'm probably wrong as usual. But yeah, I thought there'd be something about that. This is The Holiday is also one of my favorite Christmas movies. Kate Winslet, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, and oh god, I just saw his face. Jude Law. There we go. Directed by what's her face? It doesn't matter. It's a great Christmas-esque type of movie. And it's a great romantic comedy set at Christmas. They're making a limited series based on the film. I was like, do we really have to keep doing this? Really? Oh, well. Ted Lasso, one of my favorite shows that I watched and it started this year. It's so hard to believe that I'd never seen Ted Lasso until this year. And it seems so far away. It seems like I've watched this show years ago. But no, this is the first time I saw it was this year. So season 4, as mentioned before multiple times, the show is currently in production. It has reached a milestone. It has finished its filming in Kansas City. So I'm assuming that the first episode of the new season is going to be based mostly in Kansas City, and there might be some other bits that might pop up during the new season. But they have finished filming in Kansas City. During the filming, we got some behind-the-scenes look at, we already talked about the cast last week, but Beard appears to be coming back for the Kansas City shoots. They showed some shots of him on the set. And also the actress who played Ted's mom is also set to reprise her role and has filmed scenes from the Kansas City stuff, but they had finished their wrap in Kansas City. And now they're off to Richmond to continue the majority of filming for the show. That's Richmond, UK, by the way, and not Richmond, Virginia. So they've done filming here in the U.S. and now they're heading over to the U.K. to finish up filming for the season. So it's been off again, on again, off again, and it's back on again. The new Strange Academy TV show based on the comic about Doctor Strange, who runs a Hogwarts type of school where he teaches young and upcoming sorcerers how to control their powers, is back on Disney Plus, which absolutely makes perfect sense for Disney Plus to do a show about Strange Academy. It's the perfect, collision of Disney and kids. So that could be worth our while here. NASA has discovered dozens of heart-shaped formations on Mars. No one really knows what that is. Probably not Martians, but it's some sort of weathered or whatever. And it's been multiple ones to see that. So that's kind of interesting to see how that's right there. The closest relative alive now to the T-Rex is, believe it or not, the chicken. I think you probably heard that before, but I'm just reiterating it again. Other crazy stuff. This is more local news. A truck carrying frozen hot dogs on I-83 in the Pennsylvania area. So not quite really in Maryland, but close enough. Your Pennsylvania, your county is really just over the border. So technically it's in the Maryland, Pennsylvania. It's just a weird rumble area. And the truck overturned, and all the frozen hot dogs crossed across I-83, shutting down I-83 during rush hour in the morning. A friend of mine from Facebook who I used to work with at Diamond detailed how he was caught in the ensuing accident and talked and lived to tell about it. Yellowstone's aspen trees are finally growing back for the first time in 80 years. And you know who they are giving the total credit to? Is to gray wolves. Now, a little history if you don't remember much about Yellowstone. For the longest time, Yellowstone had gray wolves that wandered the place. But the gray wolves started going after family pets and livestock in the farms and houses in the area around Yellowstone. They were exiting around outside of Yellowstone and causing havoc out there, and also wiping out species that weren't as prevalent in Yellowstone. Must have been 80 some years ago then when they decided to get rid of them. So they were able to airlift all of them out, and Yellowstone was wolf free for technically close to 80 years. Actually, it was less than that, because it has to be about now 10, 20 years now that the wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone because the elk and stuff were now causing issues, overrunning stuff like that. They need to bring the predators back to lower the amount of elk and stuff like that in the area. And that is why the aspen trees weren't growing, was because the elk would eat the shrubs or the little tree sticks that were getting ready to bloom and turn into aspen trees, but then they got eaten, and then would regrow again, get eaten again, so on and so forth. But now that the wolves have taken out the majority of the elk, not the majority because the elk is still there, but have helped reduce the amount of elk, and they've found other means of food, the trees have started to grow and blossom again. So pretty cool. Sterling K. Brown, Divine Joy Randolph, and Winston Duke are set to star in a limited series called The Trees, based on a novel. Down Cemetery Road is a new show from Apple TV Plus with Emma Thompson and Ruth Wilson, set to debut October 29th. Mikey Madsen and Jeremy Allen White are set to star in Social Network 2. We got our first look at Eenie Meenie trailer with Samara Weaving, which basically looks like a female version of Baby Driver, which I hated, but that's besides the point. Australia has entered the space race. They launched their first rocket this week. didn't do very much, but it's the beginning, baby steps to begin with, and eventually Australia is going to become a force to be reckoned with. Spartacus, Hand of Asher trailer debuted and shows a female gladiator to focus on that, which makes sense because Spartacus is known for lots of sex and nudity. So it makes sense for people who want to get their rocks off with a hot female to have a female gladiator be the lead. First pictures from Shelby Oaks, which is a horror film, popping up. They look kind of creepy. Speaking of creepy, The Conjuring Last Rites trailer debuted this week. It's set to debut September 5th. Again, based on the true stories of two paranormal investigators. And this is their fourth or fifth movie, and they've done a whole bunch of spin-offs like The Nun and stuff like that that have been involved with that. But this one is based on a true story, and all of them based on true stories and based on cases that they've worked before. But this one is coming full circle, which is interesting. The first case that they ever worked as paranormal people, they were out of their depth and almost died. And they realized that the demon that they were hunting from their very first expedition is back and is now taunting them. And it looks a lot of bad stuff is going to happen to the lead female. So it looks like I've never watched any of the Conjuring movies, but for fans of the Conjuring movies, it looks like it could be pretty decent. Lee Isaac Chung has now been tasked to direct the Ocean's 11 prequel. Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are for now still attached to it, but that could change because there was a different director who was supposed to do it, but he left. So now we have the new one. So we'll see if the new director decides to keep them on or go a different way. I'll get to that last. 6-year-old is the youngest contestant in the Ernest Hemingway annual lookalike contest. He's 6-year-old. He doesn't even know who the fuck Ernest Hemingway is, but it's hilarious. Just going to show you that football is a completely different animal in the South. Buford High School, grades 9 through 12, high school, Buford High School in Georgia, just opened a $62 million football stadium for a fucking high school. Not even a college, not even for a professional team, a fucking high school. It seats like 50,000 people and has concessions and has, the video board and all kinds of electronics and all music and also it looks like a fucking college or professional stadium. $62 million for a high school football stadium? What the fuck, man? Seriously? I don't know. I don't know. Some sad news. Falling sequoia branch kills an LA native who was hiking in Yosemite. She was 29 years old. Just a freak accident, which is terrible. Florida man. We haven't had a Florida man in a while. Who stole Smokey the Bear signs to sell on Facebook merchandiser or what do you call it, market or whatever, was captured by someone dressed as Smokey the Bear. Appropriately, ironically, isn't it? The Pope had a pizza delivered to him from Chicago. I don't know if he was in Chicago when it happened or they delivered it to wherever he was and handed it to him, but yep. The Americas are really starting to dig deep in this connection with them. I don't know if you know this, lo-fi beats. I don't know if you've ever seen these before. You go on YouTube and you write lo-fi beats or whatever. It is just a nice, calm sort of lo-fi beat music. It's fairly popular. It's been fairly popular for the last 10 years or so. And it just basically shows, while you're listening to music, it just shows music. And it's a consistent shot of a anime girl studying at her desk. And usually it's at nighttime and there's a cat in the window. Sometimes they show her during the day studying, but it's all it is the picture up there while you're listening to the lo-fi beats. And you're not really supposed to be watching the video because it doesn't change. She's constantly working at her paper, flipping things, reading things, adjusting things. And the cat is sitting on the window, sometimes moves over onto the desk. And so they just keep it interesting, but it's That's all it is. Whenever you typed in lo-fi beats and you saw a video and you're just there to listen to music, it's not supposed to be a video. However, the lo-fi beats girl, after 8 years, has officially graduated. People who were listening to lo-fi beats were surprised recently when they saw the cartoon had now showed a picture of the lo-fi beats girl with a sign that says, "Thank you, I've graduated," or something like that, or "Thank you for watching," or something like that. I don't know if that means the end of lo-fi beats or that one specifically, but that's still kind of an interesting sort of iconic sort of position here. So I mentioned this before. I think Netflix does documentaries very, very well. And they've always done documentaries really, really well. It's one of their strengths, and they do a lot of them. And it's not your typical stuff that they do. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, or more recent, like pop culture events, stuff like that. One of my first ones I remember seeing is Trainwreck Woodstock 1999, which is like a 2 or 3 part series detailing the absolute utter destruction of that 3-day festival that came out in 1999. And I remember watching that stuff because I was 73, I was 26 years old when it happened. So Trainwreck appears to be one of their usual sort of documentary stuff. They did one called the Shit Boat or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what that's about. And then they just did one. They just released one a couple days ago, I think on August 1st or the 31st of July, something like that, called Trainwreck Storm Area 51. I don't know if you remember. This is probably, I thought it was 2021, but it was 2019, apparently. That's what they said in the documentary, where somebody on a site on Facebook who was bored out of his mind and had just listened to the Joe Rogan podcast about Area 51 decided to make a joke about, we need to do? We need to storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us, Ha ha ha. We'll just get a bunch of people and we'll storm Area 51 on this date, September 20th at 5 a.m. Just threw out there just for fun and shits and giggles because he's a shit poster. That's what he did. It was a joke. So he turned it off after he did that, went to bed, woke up the next morning and discovered thousands of people had liked it and it had become viral. And people were actually signing up to do this. And then it just started spiraled into this huge thing as the numbers kept going up and up about people who wanted to storm Area 51, and TikTok and Reels and all this stuff started doing stuff about the Area 51. Their influencers saying they're going to be going there and doing that stuff. And it just spiraled into millions of people saying they were going to do this. So this guy decided he saw an opportunity. So he wanted to do like a concert sort of thing. And so they're trying to set up the venue with that. And before you know it, all kinds of shit falls apart with that. All kinds of stuff happens. And then the government gets involved because this is a highly classified airbase. And they believe that these millions of people are going to come out here in September and are going to rush this top secret facility. And they have the shoot to kill order. So it's one of these things that, do you have the gumption, if they do start running in here en masse, to start killing these kids who want to get in and free the aliens? It became this huge viral thing. Reels, YouTube shorts, TikTok videos, and it just spiraled out of control. And this documentary details everything in detail, what happened, how it spiraled out of control, and the anticlimactic, though ironic, ending to it. Obviously, nothing terrible happened because we would be hearing about it still to this day, but I had kind of forgotten what actually had happened. Again, I thought it was 2021, 2022. I thought it was a few years ago, but no, it was 6 years ago. So that's crazy. So it's well worth your watch. It's 2 episodes, probably about 40 minutes each. So we're looking at about an hour and a half of your time to watch this documentary. It's very well done because Netflix does a fantastic job with their documentaries, and definitely worth a gander into a part of our more recent history. So definitely worth it to check it out. Another death this week, Flaco Jimenez, a Kanju music pioneer and San Antonio icon, died at the age of 86. Anniversaries, Death Becomes Her, Robert Zemeckis film with Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. 33 years ago this week. Ever After, the Drew Barrymore updating of Cinderella, debuted 27 years ago this week. The Negotiator, which I did see in the movie theater at the time, with Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey, and it's 2.5 hours long, 27 years ago, but it's really well done though. Even though they don't play videos anymore, when this debuted 44 years ago, it was a massive, iconic event. MTV aired August 1st, 44 years ago, 81, I think, that debuted then. So it was a huge, iconic moment in our time, and now it's a piece of shit. Come to the age of my page, so we're on my final bunch of paper in this notebook, and then we got to start a new one. So this one will probably lead me through till September, maybe October. So we'll definitely get my anniversary of my show, which is September 15th. I think it's 12 or 13 years. It's 12 years. I'll know for sure. It's not till September 15th though, so it's more than a month away. The anniversary of the debut of my show. So we'll figure that out down the line, but not yet. Lily James has joined the cast of Subversion with Chris Hemsworth. It is a submarine thriller. Chris Pratt and Taylor Kitsch reteam for the Terminal List Dark Wolf film. They're doing the Hunger Games on stage, and Joshua Lacey has been cast as Haymitch. Evan Gamet has been cast as Peeta, and Mia Karuga has been cast as Katniss. So I don't know how they're going to do Hunger Games on stage, but okay. Zoe Deutsch, Jonah Our King, and Ruth Cruz are set to star in Threesome. The Threesome, set to debut September 5th. Topher Grace is joining Kristen Milotti in Buddy. Jeremy Strong is set for The Social Network 2 as well. Could be playing Mark Zuckerberg, they say. American Sweatshop trailer with Lily Reinhart debuts, or the trailer came out this week, but the show debuts, or the movie debuts September 19th. Robert Carlyle has been cast as Sherlock Holmes in Morse Chestnut's CBS Watson show. Eggo buttery maple ice cream sandwiches sound delicious, are now out in stores. Anna Shapiro has been cast in House of Dragons season 3. 2, why are we doing this? Things we don't need. My Best Friend's Wedding is getting a sequel. The original had Julia Roberts, Cameron Diaz in it. It's a terrible movie about Julia Roberts trying to disrupt her best friend's wedding, who was a male, because she wants to marry him. And Cameron Diaz is not a terrible person. She's a good person. And you were supposed to be cheering for Julia, which is terrible. But you also had like Rupert Everett, I think, was like her gay best friend, something like that. So we're getting a sequel to that, which is why. But it will be written by the Materialist writer. And Bend It Like Beckham is getting a sequel also. So again, don't know why. Speaking of sequels, Zootopia 2, which is a sequel that's okay because Disney cartoons tend to make sequels. This one's due out around Thanksgiving. We got our first trailer to see what's going on in Zootopia 2. Shane Black's next film, Play Dirty, is heading for streaming. Don't know much about it, about who's in it. I don't think they started filming it or even cast it yet, but it will be heading to streaming probably. Twin List trailer with Dylan O'Brien and James Sweeney. Don't know much about that. Didn't watch it. Josh Gad has COVID, and he'll be okay, but he announced this week that he and Andrew Rannells are going to be doing a Stay Tuned TV show on Hulu based on the John Ritter film about John Ritter and I guess his wife, who plays his wife, who get trapped in a TV sitcom after TV sitcom, or TV movie gets trapped in television, has to find their way out of different television shows. Set debut on Hulu. James Cameron just cannot let Avatar go. Avatar 3 is set to come out in December. He says that he may not be directing Avatar 4, and there's an Avatar 4 and 5. He might not be directing those two, but he probably will because that's who he is. But as of now, he's directed number 3, which is due out this year. As I said, I don't think it's going to make quite the $1 billion that the others made because it's only been 2 years since the last one came out, whereas the first one came out in 2009. The second one came out in like 2019. So it was like 10, 11 years later, even maybe 12 or 13 years, might have even been sooner than that. That would kind of make sense. But you just saw an Avatar movie. But I have to say the trailer looks pretty decent. But you know what? I've never been a big fan of the Avatar stuff. And then when he announced that he's going to be doing adaptations of 2 books that both sound good, The Ghost of Hiroshima sounds a phenomenal story for him to work on, which he's going to be directing. And then there's another book that's coming out this fall that he's doing the adaptation for. It's like called Monsters or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. That sounds pretty cool and different for him also. But now he said there could be an Avatar TV show he wants to work on also to continue the storyline. It was like, sometimes you got to give it up. Zach Galligan says that the Gremlins 3 script is done, and all it's waiting for is Steven Spielberg's approval since he is the executive producer of it. And then they can go on in making that. Sony Animated Films has a new film called Goat, set debut February 13th, 2026. That's supposed to be a story about Steph Curry. Goldfish, Dunkin' Pumpkin Spice Graham Crackers are due to come out here soon. October 7th sees the release of every single Peanuts special, the Christmas one, the Halloween one, the Thanksgiving one, and then all the ones that have preceded that since. In one case, but it's going to have multiple discs in it, but it's set to debut 10/7. Reese's Oreo, they're teaming up together to do a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Oreo with a vanilla topping and the peanut butter Oreo middle. And then Oreo is doing a Reese's peanut butter cookie with Reese's peanut butter cups, I guess, in the Oreo cookies. So those will probably seen those really soon. So it's a quid pro quo sort of thing. A near perfect Einstein ring, gravity ring, was photographed by JWST, proving again Einstein was ahead of his time, knowing about this stuff, and we finally got our first actual look at one. No longer hypothetical. Now, one last thing about the dragon fruit. I don't know if I could drink it all the time, but definitely worth getting a 12-pack and going through that and seeing where we go from there. So definitely worthwhile. And local news, Assateague ponies complete their annual trek across the Assateague Channel. It was based, there was a young adult book about the Assateague, Misty of Assateague, I think it was called. It was a huge book in the 80s. It became sort of an iconic sort of thing. It's dissipated since no one remembers Misty of Assateague anymore, but it was a big thing in the 80s. It was like on everybody's reading list, stuff like that. I don't think it's on anybody's reading list anymore, but it's still a big thing. It's still a big deal. It's still an annual tradition that still happens. So it just happened this weekend. Everything went off fine. I wish I could use this, save this for the last story of the week, but I still have a page and a half of stuff to go. Packaging supplier shipped Celsius energy drink cans, empty ones, to vodka seltzer company High Noon that filled them with vodka seltzer. Celsius is a non-alcoholic energy drink that kids drink. And someone sent the packaging for Celsius cans to a vodka seltzer plant, and the vodka seltzer plant didn't notice either filled them up with vodka seltzer, and shipped it out. So there's a recall coming on those. Absolutely crazy, man. Crazy. A little bit more deaths here. Wallace Annenberg, a philanthropist, passed away this week. Laura Dahlmeyer, a double Olympic gold medalist, died in a climbing accident. Paul Mario Day, the original lead singer of Iron Maiden, died at the age of 69. Tom Cousins, a former owner of the Atlanta Hawks basketball team, passed away this week. Anniversaries: The Lost Boys debuted 38 years ago this week. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original, debuted 33 years ago this week. Let me tell you a story about that real quick. So obviously, I did not see the movie theaters because I was intrigued by it, but Buffy wasn't Buffy at the time. And it debuted July 31st, 33 years ago. I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming on my vacation with my dad, stepmom, my sister. They had one movie theater in the town. And as we were walking through the town, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was playing at that movie theater. Again, it makes sense. 33 years ago, we were in Yellowstone, Grand Teton, Jackson Hole area, and the only movie theater in town was playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 33 years ago. So I Married an Axe Murderer, Mike Myers' movie that isn't Wayne's World or Austin Powers, but is pretty funny, debuted 32 years ago this week. And Sky High, the Disney superhero school movie that was ahead of its time, debuted 20 years ago this week, 2005. Predated Marvel by about 3 years. We had a new look at Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein adaptation. I think it's coming out this fall. We got to look at Mia Goth as her role. We also got to take a look at Jacob Elordi as the monster, and Oscar Isaac still as Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein himself. Ella Beatty is set to portray Lizzie Borden in Monster Season 4. Monster is that Netflix show, I think it's Netflix or FX, which shows the life of a serial killer. John Wayne Gacy is being worked on, I think, right now. But Season 4 will be about Lizzie Borden, and Ella Beatty will be portraying the role. Ella Beatty, I just found out when I was researching this, is the daughter of Warren Beatty and Annette Bening. So pretty cool. Did not know she was an actress. A Blue Moon trailer with Ethan Hawke. I did not get a chance to look at it because they didn't have the link for it. Directed by Richard Linklater, debuted this week. I got to dig that up and try to look at that because that sounds one of my favorite directors, one of my favorite actors working together again. Eddie Murphy announced that he has been cast as Inspector Clouseau in a new version of the Pink Panther series. Don't know if he will be doing a French accent, though he did tease that he might do a Haitian sort of accent, which would be fucking hilarious, actually. But we'll see what happens. So Devil Wears Prada 2 has been filming the last couple weeks, and lots of photographs and videos have been popping up on social media showing Meryl and Anne and Stanley, but Emily Blunt is nowhere to be seen. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we got our first look that Emily Blunt is back, baby, and we got some good looks at her, how she's got her typical red hair back again and her typical style look again. So Emily Blunt is there, don't you worry. So the whole cast is all together again. So we've been watching more stuff about that and keep seeing the stuff behind that. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino film, I'm going to announce this right now because it connects to this other one, debuted 6 years ago this week. Quentin is he still believes that this might be one of his best films he's ever made. And he wrote a novel about it, which expands on some of the characters and upon some other stuff about it. And he's also going to be doing a series of documentaries about the making of all his films, and he's really intrigued to do this one. It's a good movie. I like it. I'm hot and cold when it comes to Quentin. I like some of his stuff. I hate other of his stuff, so he's a 50-50 for me. I actually like this movie a lot. And then weeks ago, and I mentioned this on my show, David Fincher comes out and says he's going to be reworking with Brad Pitt on a secret film. That's great. You work together in Fight Club and Seven and a few other things as well. And The Adventures of Benjamin Button and a few other things. He might have been in one other thing as well. And then it was announced that it's going to be not a sequel, but I guess more of a spin-off of Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is odd because you'd figure Quentin would want to do that. But Quentin's got this obsession with only making 10 films. He's got 9 films under his belt, and he's waiting to write the perfect script that he can be proud of to call the final film he's going to direct, and he hasn't gotten there yet. Instead, he wrote the screenplay for this spinoff called The Adventures of Cliff Booth that Fincher is directing. And they've started filming this movie this week. So it is currently filming right now, probably set to debut next year at this time. Basically, I think it's going to be Cliff Booth when he's not doing his stunt stuff for Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who is rumored to make an appearance, though not in a main role in this, to pop up period in a couple scenes possibly. And I'm sure Leonardo would do it because I don't think he's ever worked with Fincher before, and it's the Quentin script, and he's worked with Quentin twice. I'm sure you'd probably see him. You might see some of the other characters from the movie make their way in there, though nothing about Margot Robbie's character or Al Pacino's character or any of that, or even Kurt Russell's character. So we'll see what happens with that. Kurt Russell's character makes a lot of sense also, but we'll see. It's top secret, but the only thing that we've heard that Quentin has come out about saying about it is that Cliff Booth is working as a fixer for Hollywood productions. So he does some strong arm, stuff as well. So that's what this movie's going to be kind of about. So it's an intriguing idea. Depending on when they decide to release it, I would assume I don't think it's a summer release. I don't think it's going to be ready in time. I think it's really going to be more of a fall release, but it could be summer. Don't get me wrong. It could be like an August sort of release, whatever, because obviously Once Upon a Time in Hollywood debuted this past week, the end of July, early August. So this potentially could be the same landing spot for The Adventures of Cliff Booth, depending on when they finish. But they've started filming now. So in about a year, it'll be done and probably ready to go. So it'll probably be sometime in the summer, maybe in the fall. I think just a fall debut would be better, like a September or something like that. So we'll see what happens. We get our first look at Eternity, which is interesting, I think it's A24. Again, they do some interesting films. The first trailer with the Eternity trailer stars Miles Teller, Elizabeth Olsen, and Colin Turner, and also Divine Joy Randolph. And I think my family's getting ready to roll. Yep, 6:15. They're going to be back. All right. I'm just going to respond to them. It's an intriguing idea. So basically, the trailer starts with Miles Teller waking up on a subway train, and basically kind of like in The Good Place, where he's told that you've just died and you're in eternity, and now you have to decide where you want to spend your eternity. So there's all these different places are trying to entice them to come to their eternity spot. And while that's all happening, he discovers Elizabeth Olsen, who was his girlfriend at the time he died, has popped up in heaven, also popped up in eternity after dying a few days or weeks after he did. And so he's trying to get her back together, but then her first husband, who she was madly in love with and lost in the war, has been waiting for her to make their final choice for eternity also. So now it becomes a love triangle in the afterlife. It's an amazing idea. And I might have to check this one out because I've been sort of in a very movie-esque sort of mood. I wanted to go see Naked Gun this week, but because of our financial stuff, I decided against it. And plus, I was feeling emotional on Friday, so I didn't really want to do it. But it's a really neat idea. It's a really cool trailer, and it's an intriguing idea, and we'll see. I'm hesitant, but we'll see. Flow, which is one of my favorite animated movies of the year and won Best Animated Film of the Year at the Oscars, is set to debut on Blu-ray September 23rd. They're going to be releasing plushies now of the Flow Black Cat Kitty, which is really cool. James Gunn announced a Starfire animated series is incoming. He's mentioned that he's going to do like 2 series and a movie every year, something like that. And animated series are easy to do, and you can connect it to the live action stuff, which they did with Superman. So it's kind of interesting like that. The popular Untamed show set in Yellowstone gets a 2nd season. Matthew McConaughey's been on a hiatus from filmmaking for a few years now, is back with America Ferrera in a film called The Lost Bus, based on a true story. Someone released a 20th anniversary Lord of the Rings whiskey. The design on the outside of the whiskey bottle is intensely cool. Actor Keith David is set to release a jazz album this fall. That's interesting. Ryan Coogler, who's coming off of this high with Sinners, has now said that his next project will be his reboot of The X-Files. Don't know if it's TV show or movie. So I would prefer probably a movie, because I'd like to see a Ryan Coogler, like R-rated X-Files movie with a new cast sort of thing, what they would do. I think that'd be pretty wild, but we'll see. That's not up to me. Margie Claw's animated film is set to come out here soon. They just cast Melissa McCarthy and Cole Escobar to be the voices. Iceland, much like with, I think it was Australia last week, has instituted a 4-day work week. Our country is never going to do that because our country sucks. But a 4-day work week absolutely makes perfect sense, because I think people need a 3-day weekend to really get themselves recharged up here. And I really wish we could do that, but I know this fucking country, it sucks ass, and it's never going to do that. Even after that stain on our history is out, and the stain that is MAGA is out, there's no way anyone else would institute a 4-day work week, which sucks, but oh well. Jimmy Palmiotti and Daniel Panacina are set to be the creative team on the new Marvel Legends Punisher, not Marvel Legends. Was that Marvel? I'm just gonna say Marvel Legends. I know it's Marvel Legends, but the new Marvel Knights Punisher series. Palmiotti was the inker of the Daredevil Marvel Knights saga back from the 90s with Kevin Smith, and now he's a pretty decent writer on his own. He's writing Punisher with Dan Panacina, coming out this fall, I believe. Man who invented a way to turn plastic into fuel has been missing for 2 weeks. A lot of conspiracy theories popping up here, because whenever somebody figures out a way to create energy in a cheap way, they mysteriously disappear. The guy who made the car that can run on water disappeared as well. So we'll see if that actually is true or something coincidental. Daphne Keane and Nick Dahl are set to star in I can't read my handwriting then. Nick Frost from I know. So Daphne Keane and Nick Frost are set to star in Whistle, horror film about an Aztec death whistle. I already talked about that. Simpsons 800th episode is set to debut in February of 2026. 800 episodes. Jesus Christ. Monica Barbaro is set to join Andrew Garfield on Artificial. Schuyler White is set to play a adult Jason Voorhees on the Crystal Lake series. And 176.9 million people viewed K-pop Demon Hunters. And there was another number I didn't write down, but there was like a huge number of hours that were watched. Like 500, 700 hours were watched at K-pop Demon Hunters. It's a huge, huge, iconic movie, and is doing very well. So I'm very proud about that. Deaths, Alan Adeboah, the Dark Knight actor and Dark Knight Rises actor, and he was in another movie as well, passed away this week. Ryan Sandberg, former Cub. I knew him. I watched him when I was growing up. He passed away this week. And George Glenn III, who was a college basketball player, died in an accident at the age of 22 this week. Anniversaries: Deep Blue Sea is 21 or 26 years old. Can't read my handwriting. The Witches, the original one, directed by Nicholas Roeg, is 35 years old this week. It was fantastic. My favorite band, REM's album Life's Rich Pageant, debuted 39 years ago this week. The Simpsons movie debuted 18 years ago this week. The 40-year-old version debuted 20 years ago this week, which is another great one. And that's all for that week. Down to a half a page, and then we are done for this week. Boom. 619. All right. The new Meet the Parents sequel has been announced. The title of it, we already knew it was in the works, and that Ariana Grande was going to be starring along with De Niro and Stiller and all the same actors from it, Owen Wilson, and who were in the previous 3 movies. It has the name now. It is called Father-in-Law. So I'm assuming that would mean that his children have now decided to get married, and now we'll see how he reacts to them, like if De Niro acted towards him. So we'll see how that goes. A Donkey gets his own spin-off animated film with Eddie Murphy returning to voice the character, so that should be pretty interesting. They already spun off Puss in Boots into 2 movies, which did very, very well, so why not Donkey? Speaking of Donkey, a missing donkey was found after 5 years living with an elk herd. Go figure about that. A black bear was caught napping in a bald eagle nest. Consider that also. That's crazy. Emily Van Camp is set to join little Audrey. Welcome to Derry trailer. I think I talked about that last week, but the new one came out like that. It's appropriately creepy. Actually looks pretty decent. And Skarsgård is back as Pennywise. So that's pretty interesting. Oh, no. I was trying to get through a whole episode without... Shit. I can't read this one. I talked about that. Oh, Beard appears in Casey. Okay, I already talked about that too. Phew. That'll be the last story, I think. I think I talked about two. Keke Palmer's joined the new Spaceballs movie. I think I announced that when it was first announced. Justin Timberlake has Lyme disease, which is crazy. A mother saved a 6-year-old boy after an octopus attacked him at an immersive aquarium event. You know, our aquarium downtown has like a kids area where you can reach into the water and touch like sand crabs and starfish and stuff like that. And apparently at this, I don't know where it was, but at this aquarium, there was an octopus in it and you could touch it and stuff like that. Well, the octopus went after this boy, wrapped his tentacles around his arm and was either sucking on it or pulling it out, whatever. The mother was able to break him free. And now I guess she's suing the aquarium. We'll see what happens with that. Paul Jenkins's comic Sidekicks is to get an animated feature. It's kind of in the vein of sort of Invincible, sort of adult animated sort of film, a comic that turned into film. Comedian Matt Rife buys the Haunted Museum and is now the new guardian of the Annabelle doll, even though I don't think the Annabelle doll has been located yet. Before we do the last story of the week, some last minute stuff here. Death this week, Sunehiko Kamijo, one of the Studio Ghibli voices, has done multiple voices for Studio Ghibli movies, passed away this week. And Dwight Jackhammer, I think, Quarry, a boxer, died at the age of 72. Anniversaries: Animal House debuted 47 years ago this week. Damn. The second of the Friday the 13th movies debuted this week. Friday the 13th 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, debuted 26 years ago this week. Bugs Bunny celebrated its 85th anniversary this year. Spider-Man debuted also on August 1st. So it was Spider-Man Day. I guess it was 62. So 62, 72, 82, 92, 2002, 2012, 2022, like 63 years old. Basketball, a weird film from one of the creators of Airplane with Matt and Trey of South Park fame, making fun of sports movies. It has its moments, but it's also quite a weird movie. Debuted 27 years ago this week. The lovely Anne Hathaway made her first ever appearance in The Princess Diaries, debuted 24 years ago this week. Great film with Julie Andrews as well. And such a great film, and it introduced us to the wonderful, amazing, gorgeous, lovely Anne Hathaway. Finally, the last story of the week: Queen Elizabeth once told Paul McCartney that she could not stay for his tribute to her, 35-minute tribute to her, because she had to go watch Twin Peaks. So this story came from Angelo Badalamenti before he passed away. He was talking about how he helped Paul McCartney do an arrangement for this 35-minute tribute to the Queen. And they went to this event and everything was going off the hitch. And then 5 minutes before 8 o'clock, he comes to the Queen and says, "I'm ready to do my tribute." She's like, "Sorry, Paul, I got to go. Twin Peaks is on." So I just love that story. And I think that's great because the Queen of England was a Twin Peaks fan. I wonder if she saw the third season before she passed. It came out in 2017, so probably. Was it 2017? No idea. All right. A little less than last week, but still more than it has been, so that's a pretty good sign. Next week, we continue our journey through August. Hopefully, will not be as emotional as I was last week. This upcoming weekend, my son will be going to his friend Hunter's house. It's Friday into Saturday. My daughter will be back either Thursday night late or Friday. Don't know yet. And my son does his final working at the week at Irvine this week as well. They're on their way back. They'll be back about 6:15, which is about 3 hours from now. So hopefully he'll be okay. Had a good time. And he's not miserable, and hopefully he's feeling better. That's what I'm most worried about, that hopefully he feels better. All right, see you guys later. See you next week. Enjoy your week.